Got a big idea but unsure where to start? Every successful product begins with one thing: a minimum viable product, your MVP. It's not just about building fast, it's about building smart. With an MVP, you launch a simplified version of your product to test the market, gather real feedback, and evolve. Think of it as your product's first step, proving value, attracting investors, and reducing risks. Start small, build smart, scale fast, discover the power of your MVP today.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the SunTrust Foundation channel. We are so excited to be hitting this subscriber milestone, and, we couldn't have done it without you.
Absolutely.
Seriously, thank you so much for being a part of this amazing community of entrepreneurs and students.
Yeah, a big shout out to all of our amazing subscribers.
To show our appreciation, we're diving into a topic that you guys specifically requested.
Oh yeah, this one was highly requested.
Building a minimum viable product, or MVP for short.
That's right. Consider this your crash course on MVPs, packed with insights to help you launch your ideas effectively.
Speaking of launching effectively, have you heard the story of Zappos? Back in 1999, Nick Swinburne, the founder, had this idea to sell shoes online.
Really?
But instead of building a fancy website, he did something totally unexpected.
What did she do?
I don't know. I'm going to let you take this one.
He partnered with a local shoe store, took pictures of their inventory, and posted them on like a super basic website.
Right.
And when someone placed an order, he'd literally buy the shoes from the store and ship them out himself.
Wait, so he was actually like losing money on every sale.
It sounds counterintuitive, right? But that's the brilliance of an MVP.
Yeah.
Nick wasn't aiming for profit at that stage.
Wow.
He was testing our hypothesis. Would people actually buy shoes online?
That's so smart.
And guess what? That simple test, that minimum viable product, led to Zappos eventually being acquired by Amazon for a cool $1.2 billion.
Oh my God.
Talk about a validation of his idea.
That is wild. What Nick Swinburne did with Zappos is a classic example of a minimum viable product, or MVP.
Yeah.
But let's break it down. What exactly is an MVP?
So an MVP is a stripped-down version of your product with just enough features to attract early adopters.
Okay.
And most importantly, get valuable feedback for future development.
Gotcha.
Think of it as a learning tool, not a finished product. It's about validating your idea with the least effort possible.
So it's not about being cheap. It's about being smart.
Exactly. And let's not forget, a whopping 29% of startups fail because they run out of cash.
Wow.
Building an MVP first can help avoid that fate.
Okay, I'm seeing the value here. But how do we actually build an effective MVP? Where do we even begin?
Well, it's a process.
Okay.
Let's break it down into 6 key steps.
Yeah.
The first step, and this is crucial, is market research.
Ugh, market research.
Which one? No.
Doesn't sound very exciting. Can't we just skip that part and jump right into building?
I know it might not be the most glamorous part, but trust me, skipping market research is a recipe for disaster.
Okay.
Remember that 29% failure rate we talked about?
Yeah.
The #1 reason is a lack of market need.
Oh, wow.
Market research helps you understand your target audience, their needs, their pain points, their existing solutions.
So it's like getting to know your customer.
Exactly. Imagine you're building a new food delivery app.
Okay.
Through surveys and focus groups, you might uncover that people crave healthier options or more customizable menus.
Interesting.
Those insights would be invaluable for shaping your MVP.
Okay, I'm starting to see why market research matters.
Ah.
So once we've done our homework and we understand our target audience, what's next?
Next, you define your value proposition.
Value proposition.
What specific problem does your product solve? What unique benefits does it offer compared to the competition? Going back to our food delivery app example, maybe your value proposition is offering locally sourced organic meals, catering to a health-conscious audience who are tired of the usual greasy options.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's not just about solving a problem. It's about solving it in a way that makes you stand out from the crowd.
Precisely. Your value proposition is your differentiator.
Right.
It's what makes people choose you over everyone else.
Right, value proposition check.
All right.
What's the next step in our MVP journey?
Step 3 is all about user flow.
User flow. Yeah.
You need to map out the user's journey from start to finish.
Okay.
How do they interact with your product? What steps do they take to achieve their desired outcome?
So like the customer journey.
Exactly. For our food delivery app, this would involve outlining the entire process from browsing the menu and placing an order to tracking the delivery and providing feedback. Yeah.
So it's like creating a blueprint for the user experience.
Exactly. By visualizing the user's journey, you can identify the essential features that your MVP absolutely needs.
Cool.
And just as importantly, it helps you avoid feature creep.
Ah, feature creep. That's where we get a little too excited and start adding all these bells and whistles that end up making the product bloated and confusing.
Yes, exactly.
I've totally been there.
We've all been there.
Too many times.
That's why step 4 is so important. Prioritizing features.
Prioritizing features, okay.
You need to categorize those features as high, medium, and low priority.
Got it.
Remember, your MVP is all about focusing on the essentials.
Mm-hmm.
Those core features that deliver the core value.
Right.
Think of it like building a car.
Okay.
You wouldn't start with the cup holders and the sunroof.
Right.
You'd focus on the engine,
Yeah.
the wheels, the steering wheel, the things that actually make the car go.
I see your point. It's tempting to want to include everything in our MVP, but that can backfire.
It absolutely can. Steve Jobs, for example, famously skipped prototyping for the Apple Lisa,
Oh, really?
and the product ended up being a flop.
Ouch.
It highlights the importance of prioritizing and testing those core features before getting carried away.
Yeah, that's a good lesson to learn.
It is.
So we've done our market research, defined our value proposition, mapped out our user flow, and prioritized our features.
We're on a roll.
We're ready to launch, right?
Almost. Step 5 is launching your MVP.
Launching.
But remember, it needs to be usable and engaging.
Mm-hmm.
First impressions matter.
Right.
Think of your MVP as a taste test for your product.
Okay.
You want people to come back for more.
Okay. Launch, but make sure it's a good launch. Got it.
Yes.
And finally, what's step 6?
Step 6 is all about iterating.
Iterating, all right.
You gather feedback from your early adopters, analyze data, and use that information to continuously improve your product.
Okay.
This is where the build, measure, learn cycle comes in.
So we launch, we
Yeah.
listen, we learn, we improve. It's a continuous process.
It is.
This is starting to make a lot of sense. But before we move on, are there any common mistakes we should be aware of? Any pitfalls to avoid on our MVP journey?
Definitely. Let's talk about 5 common MVP mistakes that can trip up even the most seasoned entrepreneurs.
Okay, I'm all ears.
First up, and this might seem obvious, is solving the wrong problem.
Okay, but how do we know if we're solving the wrong problem? I mean, we think our idea is brilliant.
I know, but that's why thorough market research is so important.
Yeah.
Before you even think about building an MVP, you need to validate that there's a real need for your product.
Mm-hmm.
Ask yourself, who is this for? What problem does it solve? Is it a genuine pain point?
Right,
If you can't answer those questions confidently, you might be heading down the wrong path.
right. So validate the problem first. What's mistake number 2?
Mistake number 2 is skipping the prototyping phase.
Prototyping.
Remember Steve Jobs and the Apple Lisa?
Yeah.
Prototyping allows you to visualize the user experience and identify potential usability issues before you invest too much time and money.
So it's like a test run.
Exactly. It's about finding that Goldilocks quality with our prototypes, right? Not too high fidelity, not too low fidelity, but just right.
That's right.
Yeah, I like that.
Mistake number 3 is targeting the wrong audience.
Oh,
It's tempting to rely on feedback from friends and family,
right.
but unless they're your ideal customers, their opinions might not be relevant.
Ouch, that's a tough one to hear. But I get it. We need feedback from people who are actually going to use our product, not just people who are trying to be nice.
Exactly. Mistake number 4 is choosing the wrong development method.
Development method, okay.
For MVPs, Agile is often a better choice than the traditional waterfall method.
Agile versus waterfall. Can you explain the difference? I'm not familiar with those terms.
Sure. Imagine you're building a house.
Right.
With the waterfall method, you'd plan and design everything up front from the foundation to the roof before laying a single brick.
Wow, that's a lot of planning.
Right. Agile, on the other hand, is more like building in stages.
You start with a basic structure, get feedback, make adjustments, and then build the next stage.
I see.
It's much more flexible and iterative, which is ideal for MVP development.
So Agile is about embracing change and adapting as you go, while waterfall is more rigid and linear.
Exactly.
I can see why Agile would be better for an MVP where you're constantly learning and refining.
It is. And finally, mistake number 5 is ignoring qualitative feedback.
Qualitative feedback. What's that?
It's easy to get caught up in quantitative data like downloads and signups.
Sure, numbers.
But understanding the why behind user behavior is just as important.
The why.
Why are people using your product? What do they like or dislike about it?
Interesting.
Qualitative feedback provides valuable context and can uncover insights that you might miss from numbers alone.
So it's not just about what people are doing, but why they're doing it.
Precisely.
This is all great information. I feel like I'm finally starting to grasp this whole MVP thing.
But before we move on, a quick reminder to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives like this.
Please do that.
And don't forget to let us know in the comments what topics you'd like us to cover next. We love hearing from you.
Welcome back to the final part of our MVP deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground, haven't we?
We have. It's been quite the journey.
It has. So before we wrap things up, let's recap the key takeaways. What are the most important things our listeners should remember about building a successful MVP?
Well, first and foremost, remember that an MVP is not a finished product.
Right.
It's a starting point, a stepping stone.
Yeah.
Don't get caught up in trying to create a perfect, polished product right out of the gate.
Yeah. That's so important. It's about validating your idea and getting feedback as quickly as possible, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that leads us to the next key takeaway. Iteration is key. Embrace the build, measure, learn cycle, gather feedback, analyze data, and constantly refine your product based on what you learn.
So it's all about being flexible and adapting to feedback rather than clinging to a rigid plan.
Absolutely. Another crucial takeaway is the importance of thorough market research.
Right.
Don't assume people will want what you're building.
Yeah.
Validate your ideas. Make sure there's a genuine need for your product before you invest too much time and resources.
Right. Solve a real problem for a real audience. That makes a lot of sense.
It does.
What else should our listeners remember?
Defining your value proposition is crucial.
Okay.
What makes your product stand out? Why should people choose you over the competition?
Yeah.
Clarity on your value proposition will guide your development process and your messaging.
So it's about communicating your unique advantage. What other key takeaways should we highlight?
Mapping out your user flow is essential.
User flow.
Visualize the entire user experience from start to finish. This will help you identify those core features that need to be in your MVP.
Right.
And avoid getting sidetracked by unnecessary bells and whistles.
Avoid that feature creep. We talked about prioritizing features, right?
Yes. Focus on the essentials, the core features that deliver the core value.
Right.
Remember the car analogy, start with the engine, not the cup holders.
And don't forget prototyping. Testing your ideas early on can save you a lot of headaches down the road.
Absolutely. When it comes to launching your MVP, make sure it's usable, engaging, and leaves a positive first impression.
Right. Think of it as a taste test.
Yeah.
You want people to come back for more. It's been an incredible deep dive. We've covered so much valuable information. Hopefully our listeners are feeling inspired and equipped to tackle their own MVP journeys.
I hope so too.
And if you're feeling ready to take your entrepreneurial journey to the next level,
Yes.
remember that the SunTrust Foundation offers free mentorship to help you along the way. Just reach out to us for more information.
Or you're out.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you in the next one.
See ya.